right, so we're getting an update out of the UK this morning, specifically from Prince William. Ian Lee is following this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ian, what's going on?
Oh, good morning, Anne-Marie. Yeah, this came when Prince William was visiting a site in East London. Someone asked him what his reaction was to that interview that we saw with Oprah, with Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, and Prince William, in a rare answer. You don't usually get them answering, but he said that the royal family isn't a racist family. He also said that he was going to reach out to his brother and talk to him. He hasn't done so yet, but this is fairly rare to get a member of the royal family commenting so ad hoc like that about this, but it shows kind of the tensions that you can see there right now. Next, we are going to move on to another story we're following. This is in Indonesia, where a bus was traveling on the country's main island of Java when the brakes reportedly malfunctioned. Swerving and out of control, the bus then plunged 65 feet into a ravine. Rescue workers pulled at least 27 bodies from the wreckage. The bus was carrying high school students, their parents, and teachers on their way back from a pilgrimage site. 39 people were injured and taken to a nearby hospital. Police are now investigating the cause of the crash. Next, we're in Japan, where 10 years ago today, a massive earthquake triggered a deadly tsunami. The wall of water over 100 feet high in places ravaged the Fukushima region and sent a nuclear power plant into meltdown. Nearly 20,000 people died in the disaster. Today, many of the 150,000 residents who fled haven't returned. A restriction zone contaminated by radiation remains around the power station. Authorities predict it will take around 40 years to finish the cleanup effort at the cost of billions of dollars. We now move on to Brazil, where the pandemic is getting worse. Each day, the death rate breaks the previous day's record, now exceeding more than 2,000. The lack of vaccines and restrictions, along with new, more infectious variants, are creating a perfect storm. Brazil's president has downplayed the pandemic, but intensive care units are nearing maximum capacity, and health officials are warning that the medical system is close to collapse. Anne-Marie, as you mentioned earlier, today marks the 1 year since the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic. Outside the U.S., each country took their own approach to the outbreak, with some more successful than others. We take a look back.
Happy New Year!
When China welcomed 2020 with elaborate celebrations, a deadly virus was spreading behind the scenes. Critics say Chinese authorities worked harder to suppress information about COVID-19 than to contain it. The World Health Organization maintains it issued early warnings, but countries didn't listen.
Yes, maybe we need to shout louder, but maybe some people need hearing aids.
It took months for the WHO to declare a pandemic, and by then it was already too late. The virus hit Italy early and hard, triggering the first nationwide lockdown outside of China. Italian hospitals were overwhelmed as morgues overflowed. 40% of the residents in the village of Nembro died from the coronavirus within a month.
Ciao.
A year later, nursing homes are allowing visits again, but it's not the same. Some countries learned from Italy's tragedy and locked down quickly. Australia and New Zealand largely averted disaster and have returned to some semblance of normalcy, while other nations waited and paid the price. Here in the UK, more than 125,000 people are dead, while the country endures its third lockdown.
I am deeply sorry for every life that has been lost, and of course, as Prime Minister, I take full responsibility for everything that the government has done.
Sweden rolled the dice without any restrictions, hoping for herd immunity, only later to admit it was a mistake. Salvation from the virus eventually came in little bottles. The UK and Israel now lead the world in vaccinations, but much of Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America struggle with shortages of shots. Health officials warn that until everyone is vaccinated, the dangers of the pandemic can't be cured. Anne-Marie, we've talked about it before, but it needs repeating. Health officials warn that we aren't out of the woods until the world is vaccinated. And as long as the virus thrives, they say it can mutate, possibly making the vaccines less effective.
It's so appropriate that those would be your last words, because we're going to launch into a conversation all about that, the global effort. Thank you so much.